long story short, from a young woman who was dependent on a cane, a diaper, and 12 medicines to a woman who crossed the finish line at a marathon, medication-free. And today, 25 years since that diagnosis, I'm medication-free, disability-free, and empowered more than ever before to share the message.
Welcome to the Mastering Diabetes audio experience, where we show you how to sit in the driver's seat of your diabetes health for the rest of your life. We'll teach you how to reverse insulin resistance, achieve your ideal body weight, gain energy, and get your best A1C following almost 100 years of evidence-based research.
Our program teaches you how to reverse prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and gestational diabetes, and how to simplify your life with type 1 diabetes, type 1.5 diabetes, and insulin-dependent type 2 diabetes by maximizing your insulin sensitivity using your food as medicine.
We're on a bold mission to reverse insulin resistance in 1 million people. We're glad to have you joining us.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mastering Diabetes audio experience. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Dr. Saray Stancic. I have personally been in touch with Dr. Stancic since early 2014 when I was working at Forks Over Knives. We talk about that briefly in the show today, but it's really exciting to see all that Dr. Stancic has accomplished since we were first in contact. Dr. Stancic is triple board certified in internal medicine, infectious diseases, and lifestyle medicine. She graduated from New Jersey Medical School in 1993, and after completing her fellowship, accepted the position as Chief of Infectious Diseases at the Hudson Valley VA in New York. In later years, she served as Translational Medical Leader at Roche Pharmaceuticals, where she led clinical trials in the field of viral hepatitis and HIV. She was doing big things. In 2012, she left her work in infectious diseases to fully dedicate her time to the field of lifestyle medicine. Dr. Stancic's interest in lifestyle medicine is rooted in her personal story as a patient living with MS, and you're going to hear all about that today in mad detail. So it's a very inspiring story. She is the founder of one of the first lifestyle medicine practices in the country and mentors the Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group at Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School. She seeks to spread the power of preventive medicine on a global scale and bring needed change to how we train physicians. She is producer of the documentary film Code Blue, which made its global release on May 26, 2020. Dr. Stancic released her first book on January 12, 2021, entitled What's Missing from Medicine? 6 Lifestyle Changes to Overcome Chronic Illness. I highly, highly recommend you watch the film and pick up a copy of her brand new book. Both links will be under this show. In today's episode, Dr. Stancic shares her remarkable story of being diagnosed with MS and how lifestyle medicine changed her life forever. It's a really, really powerful story, and I hope it gives you a lot of hope, no matter where you're coming from and what you're struggling with, and also some conviction to keep going and stay committed to what you're doing. So I'm really excited to bring her story to you today. So check that out. We talk about the importance of overcoming a victim mindset. We talk about the disconnect happening in the medical field right now and how Dr. Stancic is working to make an impact on young medical professionals. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, okay? So I hope you really enjoy this episode, and I actually have a special request. So you'll understand this request much better after you listen to the show, but I'd like you to take a picture of you eating blueberries, or just the picture of blueberries, okay? Take a picture of blueberries, post on your story, and tag us on Instagram, all right? That's my request, and I promise you it'll make more sense once you listen to it, but you do that, you post a picture, tag us. It's going to put a huge smile on my face and help you enjoy some blueberries. So let's make that happen. Tag us. And with that said, let's get into the show. Dr. Stancic, it's great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Robbie. It's a great pleasure to be joining you today.
It's been a long time coming. I'm glad we're here. And we have so much to talk about. So your story, your personal journey, is similar to Cyrus and myself. How we got into all this is quite powerful. So let's start there. How did you get into lifestyle medicine in the first place?
Sure. So my story begins in October of 1995. I was a third-year medical resident. Knew nothing about plant-based nutrition or lifestyle medicine. I was going about my merry way, working an overnight shift at the hospital, thinking all was good. And then on that night, it was a busy night. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I found an opportunity to take a nap. Within 30 minutes of that nap, I was paged again to help, to address an issue with a patient. And when I tried to get up, I couldn't feel my legs. It was that abrupt.
Scary.
Panic set in, and next thing I remember, Robbie, I was in the ER in the MRI machine, undergoing an MRI of my brain and spinal cord.
Wow.
Not knowing what was happening, because of course, even though I was a physician, when you lose all your thinking and all your management skills and your expertise just go right out the window, right? All of a sudden, you're vulnerable, you're fragile, and you're scared. And so the next thing I heard was this is a classic case of multiple sclerosis. They told me I had multiple lesions in my brain and spinal cord. The disease was quite advanced, and that I could expect to be in a wheelchair within 10 to 15 years.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So.
And you're not in a wheelchair, so.
I'm not in a wheelchair. There's a happy ending. But yeah. It felt like, the floor had fallen out from under me, and I was not expecting this at all. Again, I was 28 years old, happy, healthy. I had arrived at my dream to become a physician, and I had worked hard to get there, and now it's going to pay off, right? And that was not exactly what happened on that day. So. I became this MS patient, chronic illness patient, and I did everything my doctors asked of me. I was started on a really tough drug regimen, a disease-modifying therapy. Had a lot of side effects, and I really, really struggled. And by the time, about 8 years into the diagnosis, so this is 2003, I was dependent on a cane. I was taking 12 medicines. I used to walk around with a pill box. And I was depressed, and I had lost hope.
Wow.
And then I came across an article that discussed the connection between diet and multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed everything. It was the catalyst that put me on the path that led to where I am today. And, it was remarkable because I was a dual board certified attending physician, in infectious diseases and internal medicine. And I knew nothing about diet and lifestyle. And so this little silly article introduced this idea, this connection between MS and diet, and that led to this insatiable appetite to delve into the literature and really understand these connections. And
was this the article about blueberries?
Yeah, it was an article about blueberries.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a very small, silly study that essentially fed a group of MS patients a diet rich in blueberries. And the scientists who did this study talked about anthocyanin, this phytonutrient found in the blueberry that gives it that beautiful blue color.
Yep. And
they talked about its neuroprotective effects. And I thought it was silly. I remember having lunch with a friend of mine who's a neurologist, and I told him about it. He laughed at me, and I laughed too. I thought it was silly. But it was it was the seed that, was planted in that moment, and it made me think, oh my goodness, could this be something? And you know what? Any other time I probably would have ignored it, but I was so desperate and so frightened at where I was that I went back. I went to PubMed and I typed in words like multiple sclerosis and diet and chronic disease and diet, and that's when I came across Swank's work. Now, Swank was a neurologist who had hypothesized back in the 1950s. There was an article published in New England Journal of Medicine in 1952 where he hypothesized that saturated fat was playing a role in the pathogenesis of multiple sclerosis. And he went on to treat patients with MS in the 1950s with a low-fat plant-based diet. And he followed them over, believe it or not, 34 years and found at the end of those 34 years that his patients largely remained physically active. They were disability-free. In fact, the number that he quoted was 95% of his patients remained disability-free. And I was struck by this because every time I went to see my doctor, he talked about the wheelchair.
Wow.
And so it wasn't, of course, just swank. When I looked into the literature in 2003, there was ample evidence that, I started to sort of put together this understanding that diet was a significant variable in the course of this disease, and it could potentially serve me. And it wasn't just diet; it was all these other aspects of lifestyle that are important components, or what we call the pillars of lifestyle medicine, that include exercise and stress and sleep and so on and so forth. So in 2003, against recommendations, I decided that I would very responsibly taper off of every one of those medications, and instead I would optimize every aspect of my lifestyle. And of course, the first step was adopting a whole food plant-based diet. And Robbie, it didn't happen in a month, and it took time, but I started to feel better. And I went, long story short, from a young woman who was dependent on a cane, a diaper, and 12 medicines to a woman who crossed the finish line at a marathon, medication-free. And today, 25 years since that diagnosis, I'm medication-free, disability-free, and empowered more than ever before to share the message. Of course, nothing that I did was extraordinary or special or unique or complicated. It's all really quite simple. I mean, that's the beauty of lifestyle medicine, is the simplicity of the prescription. It's common sense. And when we apply these principles in anyone's life, and regardless of where you are, young, old, sick, healthy, it pays off in dividends. And of course, I made these changes initially because I wanted to improve my MS, but guess what? I also reduced my risk of heart disease, of diabetes, of Alzheimer's disease. It's a beautiful thing. And that's why I'm so passionate about conveying this message to whomever's willing to hear it.
Your story never gets old. I've heard you share it on a lot of big stages. And, I think people should hit that, if you're listening to a podcast app, you can hit the 30-second backward button and you can, replay, the past 30 seconds. Your transformation of, you said 12 medications,
Yeah.
These are serious meds, okay? There's serious side effects to these meds. A diaper, a cane, and now to literally completing a marathon. I'm still trying to run a marathon. I'm working on it, okay? That's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I had any dream. It wasn't on my bucket list to run a marathon. It was really, for me, it was just wow, I can do this. I have the capacity to do this. And I was once told I'd be in a wheelchair. So for me, crossing that finish line was really just, I was proving something to myself, that these lifestyle changes that I had introduced into my life had certainly borne fruit. And I wanted to use it not only as an example for myself, for my patients, but also for my medical students and other peers, right? I think that's a big piece of the disconnect, is that why isn't this an important part of the medical education that we receive in training? And it's such a missed opportunity.
Right, and we have a lot to talk about on that topic, but I really hope that people listening right now, they relate to your story, because a lot of people who have been diagnosed with diabetes of some sort, okay, we're talking, type 2 diabetes for sure, there's this picture that's painted. Your doctor painted a picture of being in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, they go to the doctor's office, they get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and the picture that's painted is, you're going to need these medications for the rest of your life, and it's going to progress, and you're probably going to need more medications. That's the story.
Absolutely.
And that's just not true.
It's completely not true. And, I think back let's just talk about diabetes for a moment. As an infectious disease physician at the VA, a common consult that I would see would be, a poorly controlled diabetic with an infected diabetic foot ulcer, right? And I would be asked, what antibiotics should this patient be placed on and for how long? And often I would find bone involvement, which is osteomyelitis, really tough infection to treat. And I would treat these patients for, weeks and months, and often they didn't get better. Why didn't they get better? Because their diabetes was so out of control, right? And so they ended up amputated. So now we have a poorly controlled diabetic, right? Status post-amputation. They're not going to sign up for a 5K, right? They're going to be more sedentary. Their blood pressure further out of control. Their blood sugars further out of control. And then they have a stroke, right? And so that was typically what I was witnessing as a practicing physician, is that I would see the patient first in the clinic for the infected diabetic foot ulcer, and then 2 or 3 years later, status post amputation, I would see them in status post stroke or status post heart attack with a pneumonia. And so again, the idea that type 2 diabetics have to end up with these sequelae, these end stage, blindness and dependency on dialysis or kidney transplantation, it's almost been normalized. Like that's what is expected will happen over an extended period of time. But you and I know that diabetes is largely preventable. Type 2 diabetes is largely preventable, and even reversible.
Yes.
In patients have had it for an extended period of time. But it's not something that is typically conveyed by physicians to diabetics.
Absolutely. And we know this with absolute certainty. Okay, we can measure a C-peptide, have a person living with type 2 diabetes get their C-peptide tested. And if we know that they're producing a significant quantity of insulin, if their C-peptide is above 2, there's a very, very good chance that you can absolutely turn this around and become medication free, because you have plenty of insulin being produced at that point. All we have to do is make sure that insulin is working efficiently, and that's what we do here. So
absolutely,
I would love to learn, if it's okay with you, I want to learn more about some of the details of your story. Like, what does your diet look like? What did you eat to basically, do you say reverse MS? Like, how do you describe it?
Yeah, well, I don't use the term reverse MS because this is a really unpredictable disease, and I have a lot of respect for it. It's really knocked me for a loop for a good bit of my life, so I have a lot of respect for it. But I have to tell you that it is a disease that I have been thankfully to date been able to manage. I will tell you this, Robbie: if I don't do the things that I need to do every day, I do get symptomatic. So I'm very careful. So when I say do the things I need to do every day, like here's an example. I need to sleep 8 hours every night. So sometimes when I travel or I cut corners, I feel that. So it's really important that I stick to that. What do I consume? I eat 100% whole food plant-based diet. I consume no processed foods, and I consume no animal products. So, and I stick to that. And on occasion, if I'm traveling, I might eat something that maybe has a little too much sodium, or maybe isn't as healthy. That's true. Just because of the consequences of sometimes we can't control everything. But I can feel that when I or if I don't have the time to do my early morning run, or I typically will do a run in the morning, and or some type of hike or walk of some sort. If I find myself that in a period where I'm very busy and I am not able to do those things, then it takes a toll on me. So I think it's really important that all the aspects of lifestyle are practiced every day. It's not something we do sometimes when it feels like it's important. It should be the most important issue that you address every morning, assuring that you're putting yourself first. And I think particularly many women tend to, they have kids and their spouse and their job, and so they tend to put other things first. And that was a very big lesson that I learned very early on, that I needed to prioritize these aspects of lifestyle to assure that I was my best, so that I could serve, all my other functions effectively.
I really appreciate a lot of the things you said there. So making the distinction about when it comes to MS, nobody really should be using the word reverse. It's manage. That's the right thing for that condition. Yeah. And I think we could get into semantics when we talk about diabetes if somebody wants to, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, you are such a great inspiration. You're a medical doctor. You are very busy. You're doing a lot of things in your life right now, and you know that you have to stay on top of your lifestyle changes in order to maintain. And I think a lot of the people listening to the show can relate, because they'll be like, oh, you know what? Like, if I have maybe a super high fat meal, or I'm not moving my body, all of a sudden my fasting blood glucose is higher, and they're frustrated and like, oh. But it's like, sometimes certain things happen in life that put us in a situation, for whatever reason, your diabetes is quite advanced, or you have MS, like things put you in a position, and you get to choose. is that a blessing in disguise because it's guiding you towards making better lifestyle choices, or are you going to complain about it and then just go down an unfortunate downward spiral instead of an upward spiral? You're an example of a person. You've put yourself in an upward spiral. You're in the best shape of your life. Your relationships, your activity, your career, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but this lifestyle has not just turned around the MS challenges you were struggling with and the medications, all that, but it has improved your quality of life. Like, you have a career you're super passionate about. Like, I think you probably would say your brain is on fire. Like, you have energy. I mean, am I correct?
Yeah, you're right on point. Absolutely. And it's funny. I say this now, and my patients will say to me, "Are you kidding, Dr. S? Are you serious?" I can honestly say to you that that day, October 11, 1995, the day that I was diagnosed, at one point in my life, I thought it was the beginning of the end, and it was the worst day of my life. I can tell you, Robbie, today that it was probably one of the best days in my life, because it really, although there was pain and suffering, I needed to have that experience to get to where I am today, and I'm so grateful for that. So yes, it's so true that I so much appreciate, and the quality of my life is extraordinary. I appreciate everything in my life so much more. I think I'm a better doctor. I think I'm a better mother, and it's been it's allowed me to achieve what is most important to me. And the reason I pursued medicine is to serve others and hopefully, as you said, play a role, the role of a good role model for others, and hopefully inspire others. Because again, there's nothing unique or special or complicated about what I did. It was simply applying these principles, this overwhelming body of evidence in the scientific literature that speaks to the importance of these lifestyle choices, and applied them in my own life, saw the benefits and reaped the great benefits. And then naturally, I wanted to share this in my clinical practice. And it's why I went on to make the film, because for me too, Robbie, it was, again, as a physician, I am perplexed as to how it is that this is not the most important lesson we learn in medical school. It should be the foundation on which all else is built.
Preach it, Dr. Stancic. Tell us about this film and what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah, well, the film, I have to say, I have to credit you with the film in large part, because we've known each other for some time.
Yes.
Since 2014.
Absolutely.
And when around the time that my practice was growing, and I had reached out to you when you were working with the Forks Over Knives team.
Absolutely. I'll never forget publishing your story on the Forks Over Knives website.
That's right. And you had sent me a bunch of copies, because part of when I was initially seeing patients in my lifestyle medicine practice, part of their homework after that first visit was to watch Forks Over Knives,
Love it.
And you were so kind and sent me a bunch of copies. And it was amazing and remarkable to me how patients would come back and say to me, Dr. S, that film really resonated with me. Or I would meet patients, I would be, speaking somewhere, and somebody come up to me and say, I saw Forks Over Knives and I changed my diet after watching that. I said, wow, that's a really effective medium. And that's how, those conversations began. And, we can write articles and we can give talks. What other pathways are there to communicate these messages? And of course, the idea of the film came up. And so Code Blue is really featuring or shedding light on this lapse in medical education, right? Because again, my doctors, Robbie, who were just really wonderful, kind, brilliant, compassionate physicians who, of course, wanted to do everything they could to serve me, didn't understand this idea. It just wasn't part of their toolbox. Yeah. And they were brilliant, trained, Ivy League trained, board certified academics who knew nothing about how diet and life. I mean, the one bit of advice I needed to turn the course of this chronic debilitating disease, I could not get from this panel of experts. That's amazing.
It's incredible. Like, yeah. I think about that point that you just made all the time, like how smart and well educated and committed our entire everybody in the medical profession. Like,
Yes.
you cannot become, like, I have so much respect. I just like bow down to medical doctors like you, and the amount of time and effort and work, and they're just another breed of intelligence, honestly, but they just haven't been given this information.
No.
It's just not, it's literally, it doesn't even exist in their sphere of knowledge.
It doesn't exist because the medical education model is built on, what we do is we study under the model of pathogenesis. We learn the disease state. So I always say to my medical students, they're going to teach you how to become a really good disease detective, right? So you take a good history, physical, and then you do blood work and imaging studies, all in an effort. You're collecting clues to ultimately make a diagnosis. And once you have that diagnosis, we treat with what? Pharmaceutical agents, procedures, surgical interventions. That's what we learn. But what we don't learn in medical school is the other half of the human health continuum. The opposite of pathogenesis is something called salutogenesis, and that's the study of health and well-being. We don't learn anything about how to maintain health and well-being in medical school. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So how can people watch the film, and what was your part in the film? What do people learn from the film?
So in the film, I tell my story, and we also tell the story of others, other patients, particularly patients of mine, and then we shed light on this lapse in medical education. You know, we just don't learn anything about nutrition and lifestyle. In fact, only 1 in 4 medical schools cover nutrition at all. But of course, the nutrition that they do cover is not really the type of nutrition education that we need in order to counsel patients. It's biochemistry, it's micronutrient deficiencies, things that are really not what we need. And even, Robbie, if you think about it, the way we train physicians is completely misaligned with the principles of lifestyle medicine. I mean, they're highly stressed. We don't sleep. There's no time for us to eat in a healthful fashion, so we're probably eating primarily out of vending machines and out of takeout, largely, regrettably, fast food. So think about it. So you're highly stressed. You don't sleep. You have no time to exercise. Physicians have one of the highest rates of stress, anxiety, depression, and even suicide. So the whole system needs to be taken down and rebuilt. I mean, we should embody the principles of lifestyle medicine. We should embody the principles of health because we should be an example for our patients.
I'm ready to run out of this office right now, go to the hospital, and start take the doctors like, look, we need to watch this movie tonight. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you think about it, it's just so outrageously backwards. Like the food that's even being fed in hospitals right now.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know if you know about this, but in our hospital, at New Jersey Medical School, within the cafeteria, which feeds both the medical school and the hospital, there was a Burger King for 26 years. It was there for 26 years. And I can tell you that over the years, I have tried my best. I've written politicians, I've written the CEOs of hospitals. We started a petition. We collected 3,000 plus signatures. We even had a protest. Neil Barnard and PCRM supported that effort. And do you know we finally got it out of the hospital?
Well done. Congratulations.
Yes, we finally did. It took 26 years, but we finally encouraged the leadership there to remove it. But 63% of medical schools are affiliated with fast food eateries in their hospitals, which is crazy.
Unbelievable.
But we have one less now, so I'm proud of that.
Yeah, well done, well done. Okay, so amongst your crazy life of running marathons and running a medical practice and filming this movie and all that stuff, you somehow found time to write a book. It's called What's Missing in Medicine. It's a fantastic book. What was your motivation to, write this book? Yeah,
I just wanted to offer a path to arriving at your optimal existence. I mean, and I wanted it to be simple, and it really reads like a conversation between myself and the reader. And as I said, the power of lifestyle medicine, I think, is the simplicity of it all. And so it's really about walking through all the aspects. I use the analogy of the wheel, Robbie, instead of, some people use pillars. I like the wheel, and I use the spokes as the
Yes,
analogy.
I
And
love
the
that one.
reason I like that is because I want people to understand that they're interconnected.
Yeah.
If you, for example, were really good at diet and exercise, but you drank like 3 bottles of whatever every night, or three glasses of wine, and you didn't sleep, then that's going to compromise your health and well-being. So the point with the wheel is to help people understand that you really want to address all aspects of lifestyle simultaneously so that you can achieve your best existence, your optimal existence. Because my hope for everyone, Robbie, is that we all age gracefully, we live to our optimal potential, free of chronic disease. And then on that very last day on planet Earth, this is what I hope for each and every one of us, that it is a beautiful day surrounded by those you love, clear of mind. And then on that night, you go to bed, you fall asleep, and you pass away with dignity and tranquility. That there isn't that bookend of pain and suffering that we so routinely see today in our country, where you're in a nursing home for the last 2-3 years, suffering, demented, where with a Foley catheter, or you're in an ICU, and sadly, we see that scenario playing out every day across our country, and we have the knowledge and understanding today, Robbie, to prevent that from happening. And so I want to thank you and Cyrus for the important work that you're doing in the field of diabetes and serving so many. Diabetes is a disease that is exploding in our country, so it's so needed. But there's so much we can do to support individuals on taking control of their personal health, and sort of I hope that we can all experience that end of life where we're not suffering at the end, that we're in fact joyful and tranquil at the end of life.
That's a beautiful vision. And essentially you're talking about health span versus just lifespan. And, the amount of, just, I've watched it happen with my grandparents, and towards the end of life, it's just the amount of the low quality of life, and the time and the money and the resources. It's just like, and there's something we can do about that. And you're out here teaching people, so it's really incredible. I appreciate it big time. Where can people get the book?
So the book is available on, I guess all the same places where you would look. I mean, Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and share your story and all the work you do. I mean, you are very, very busy. You've taken, again, this MS, which could be a very sad, life, woe is me. You could play that card. You've taken it, and now you've turned it into this incredible career of helping people and an amazing life and your family. And you're an inspiration for me, truly. It really, to see what you do and how you live your life and the dedication that you have given to pass along this message, because obviously, you read that article, you read Dr. Swank's material, you dug into it, and it transformed your life. But now you're working hard to bring that to other people. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Robbie. You are very kind.
Thanks for listening to the Mastering Diabetes audio experience. We're very happy that you're making the commitment to learn more and open your mind to a world of diabetes management and reversal that is truly taking the world by storm. We would love for you to leave us a review in iTunes. The truth is that every review counts and helps further our mission to spread the word about reversing insulin resistance in 1 million people. Please take 2 minutes, head to the iTunes store on your phone or on your computer, and leave a review for this podcast. We really, really appreciate it, and we'll read every comment and truly appreciate your honest opinion. If you're looking for more information, visit our website at www.masteringdiabetes.org to learn evidence-based science and get free recipes and listen to free podcast episodes. And you can also register for our free Mastering Diabetes Online Summit, which is our premier online event of the year, which attracts between 40,000 and 60,000 people every year. You can also watch videos of other people living with type 1 diabetes, type 1.5 diabetes, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes. And you can hear them tell their inspirational stories of improving their diabetes health for the first time in their life. If you're interested in joining our coaching program to take full control of your diabetes health, or work with experienced coaches, or join a constructive and empowering community of people losing weight, lowering their A1C values, and saying goodbye to diabetes complications altogether, visit masteringdiabetes.org/waitlist. That's masteringdiabetes.org/waitlist, and put your name on the waitlist today. We'll send you a personal invitation to join the coaching program as soon as the next open enrollment period begins. And if you want to get your hands on a copy of the Mastering Diabetes book, then visit masteringdiabetes.org/book and pick up your copy today. We are proud to have written a book that contains more than 800 scientific references to give you the confidence that the Mastering Diabetes method is backed by almost 100 years of science. We wrote the book to truly make a difference and further our mission of reversing insulin resistance in 1 million people. So pick up a copy today and leave us a review on Amazon when you get a chance. Talk soon. We will catch you in the next episode.